I always believed the worst thing that could ever destroy a relationship was simple betrayal, the kind of cheating you hear about in whispers at family gatherings or read about in gossip columns. The idea that one day you'd find out your partner had been with someone else, and your whole world would collapse. That's what I thought the ultimate heartbreak looked like. But what I went through, what I uncovered, was darker than anything I could have imagined. You see, when you've been with someone for years, you stop questioning the small things. The late nights at work, the unexplained messages that get deleted before you can ask who they're from, the way they turn their phone face down on the table, saying it's just a habit. At first, you trust. Then you start to notice patterns, the carefully rehearsed answers, the hollow laughs, the way they avoid eye contact when you ask direct questions. But because you love them, because you believe in them, you convince yourself you're imagining things. That's what I did for years. I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself I was overthinking. But instincts don't lie. And mine were screaming at me. When the truth finally surfaced, it didn't just hurt. It didn't just break me. It rewired the way I see trust, love, and intimacy. Because this wasn't just about infidelity. It wasn't about a random fling or a hidden crush. This was about a secret so twisted, so disturbing, it crossed every boundary of what I thought was possible between two people. A secret that didn't just reveal lies, it revealed a side of my partner I didn't know existed, a side so dark it left me questioning whether the person I'd loved for years had ever really been real at all. This isn't the kind of story you can laugh off later or bury under time. It's the kind of story that stains you, that changes you. And once I tell you what I found out, you'll understand why I'll never look at relationships, or trust, the same way again. My name is Daniel, I'm 37 years old, and for the longest time, I thought I had life figured out. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't struggling either. I worked as a logistics manager for a regional shipping company, the kind of job that wasn't glamorous but paid the bills and gave me stability. I owned a modest home in a quiet neighborhood, with a backyard big enough for summer barbecues and a garage where I tinkered with old tools I never really had time to use. And then there was her, Melissa, the woman everyone told me I was lucky to have. She had this magnetic smile, the kind of smile that could light up a room and disarm anyone in it. When we first met at a friend's birthday dinner, I thought she was out of my league. She was younger than me, beautiful, confident, and always knew the right thing to say. But for some reason, she chose me. For a while, I thought maybe I'd finally won at something in life. Our relationship wasn't perfect, whose is? But it looked perfect to the outside world. Vacations once a year, photos of us at concerts, date nights at the new restaurants in town. My friends envied me. My parents adored her. And I trusted her. Completely. That trust was the foundation I built my whole life on. But looking back, there were things I ignored. Melissa always kept her phone glued to her hand. Even late at night, if a notification went off, she'd roll over, check it quickly, and put it face down on the nightstand. I'd tease her about being addicted to her screen, and she'd laugh it off. There were also the weekends she suddenly became too busy for family gatherings, claiming she had errands or self-care days she desperately needed. I brushed it off because everyone needs their space. The truth is, I wanted to believe I was the man who gave her everything she needed. And maybe that's why I didn't look closer. Because if I had, I might have noticed that the perfect picture we'd painted together had cracks forming around the edges, cracks that would eventually split wide open and expose the darkness I never saw coming. At first, it was just little things, the kind of details you don't notice until they start piling up. Melissa had always had a steady routine. She'd leave for work at 8, come home around 5:30, and we'd cook dinner together. But then she started working late. At first, it was once a week, then twice, and soon it was 3 or 4 nights. She always had an explanation ready, a project deadline, an after-hours meeting, a client dinner. The excuses were clean, rehearsed even, and because I trusted her, I let it slide. But her behavior began to shift in ways that were harder to ignore. She'd started dressing differently. Melissa always looked nice, but suddenly it was as if every morning was a fashion show. New dresses I hadn't seen before, fresh perfume that lingered long after she'd left the house, lip gloss applied with the kind of care she usually saved for date nights. When I asked about it, she laughed and said, "I just like looking good for work, Dan. It makes me feel confident." And I wanted to believe that. I really did. Then there was her phone. That was the biggest change. Melissa had never been glued to her screen. She'd leave it on the kitchen counter when she showered or forget it on the nightstand. Suddenly, it was attached to her like a lifeline. She carried it from room to room, took it into the bathroom when she brushed her teeth, even tucked it under her pillow at night. If a message came through, she'd tilt the screen away, reply quickly, then slide it back into her pocket like it never happened. I teased her once, joking joking, "Who's your secret pen pal?" expecting her to laugh it off. But she didn't laugh. She froze for half a second, then brushed it away with a forced smile, "Just group chats. You know how it is." The distance between us grew in ways I couldn't quite name. Nights that used to end with us on the couch watching a show together turned into her scrolling her phone while I sat in silence. Dinners got shorter, conversations thinner. When I'd try to be affectionate, she'd sigh and murmur, "I'm just tired, babe. It's been a long day." And maybe that was true sometimes. But when tired becomes the answer every night, you start to wonder what kind of energy she's spending elsewhere. There were other small things too. She'd come home smelling faintly of cologne, not hers, not mine. When I pointed it out, she shrugged. Someone at work must have hugged me. Dan, relax. Her schedule got messy, her stories didn't always line up, and when I'd ask simple questions, her answers felt rehearsed. Too clean, too neat. The human brain is funny. It picks up on things even when you don't want it to. I caught myself lying awake at night, replaying conversations in my head, wondering if I'd missed something obvious. My gut twisted every time she smiled at her phone, every time she stepped outside to take a call. But my heart fought back. "You're overthinking," I told myself. "You're paranoid. She loves you. Don't be the insecure boyfriend who ruins a good thing with suspicion." So I buried the doubts, pretended I didn't notice the patterns, pretended the walls of our relationship weren't slowly cracking. But no matter how hard I tried, the truth was waiting. And soon, it wouldn't be subtle. Soon, it would be undeniable. It happened on a Friday night, one of those evenings where everything seemed just a little too quiet. Melissa had texted me around 6 to say she'd be late again, last-minute client dinner. I didn't argue, just heated up leftovers and tried to distract myself with a game on TV. But the silence in the house pressed down on me like a weight. Around 9:30, I went into the laundry room to grab a clean shirt, and that's when I noticed something. Melissa's work blazer, the one she'd worn that morning, was crumpled in the basket. I picked it up, and as I did, her phone slipped out of the inside pocket. That was strange. She never let that thing out of her sight. I froze, staring at it lying there in the basket like it was daring me. For a moment, I told myself to put it back. Respect her privacy. Trust her. But the other part of me, the part that had been collecting little red flags for months, screamed that this was the moment. This was the proof I either faced or kept pretending didn't exist. My hands were shaking when I unlocked it. I knew her passcode. We'd shared it years ago, back when there was nothing to hide. And right there, in her messages, the truth started spilling out. Dozens of texts, all from a number saved under a fake name, Jenna from work. Only these weren't conversations you'd ever have with a coworker. They were intimate, explicit, messages filled with pet names and late-night confessions, screenshots of hotel reservations, promises to do it again soon. I scrolled further, and my stomach dropped. Photos, not nudes, but selfies of them together, smiling like a couple on vacation. Melissa with the same magnetic smile she gave me when we first met, only now, she was giving it to someone else. I felt like the floor tilted under me. My chest burned, my ears rang, but I kept scrolling because I had to know. And then I saw something that made my skin crawl. One message said, "He has no idea, and it's better that way. We just have to be careful." That line hit harder than all the rest, because it wasn't just about a fling. It was about a secret, something calculated, something she was actively protecting. I dropped the phone back into the basket like it had burned. My heart was hammering, my head spinning. In that moment, every excuse she'd given, every late night, every tilted phone screen, it all locked into place. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't imagining things. My gut had been right all along. But what I didn't know yet was who. And that was the piece that would turn this from a painful betrayal into something darker, something I still struggle to believe. I didn't get a wink of sleep that night. My body was in bed, but my mind was racing 100 miles an hour, replaying those messages I'd read. I couldn't get the words out of my head, the pet names, the photos, the promises to do it again soon. But above all else, one line haunted me: "He has no idea, and it's better that way." That wasn't just infidelity, that was a secret being carefully guarded, something calculated when you love someone. That kind of deceit doesn't just sting, it rips your entire foundation out from under you. By sunrise, I was running on fumes and dread. I had to know who it was. My brain kept cycling through possibilities, and every name I thought of made my stomach turn. A coworker, maybe, some stranger she met online, Possibly. But deep down, I knew it had to be someone closer. That line, "He has no idea," kept echoing. Whoever it wasn't just about lust. It was about betrayal in its rawest form. While Melissa was in the shower getting ready for work, I did what I'd sworn to myself I wouldn't do again. I grabbed her phone. My hands were shaking so badly that I nearly dropped it. I scrolled deeper into her photos, into the hidden folders she thought I'd never check. And that's when my heart stopped. It was a selfie. Melissa, hair tousled, her cheek pressed against a man's shoulder. She wasn't just smiling. She was glowing, the kind of glow I hadn't seen from her in years. And the man beside her, it wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a coworker. It wasn't some faceless fling. It was Eric, my best friend since high school. The guy I'd shared first beers and broken hearts with. The man who stood next to me as my best man on the day I said, "I do." The friend who'd sat at my dinner table countless times, joking with my parents, playing with my niece and nephews, clinking glasses in my backyard like family. I felt the blood drain from my face. My stomach twisted like I'd swallowed glass. Suddenly, 100 little moments I dismissed came roaring back. The way Eric hugged Melissa a second too long at gatherings, the sly looks I thought I imagined, the nights he called me to hang out while she conveniently claimed she was too tired to come along. It all lined up now. They weren't coincidences. They were cover stories. I scrolled back to the texts. And there it was, undeniable. Last night was perfect. I don't care if he finds out anymore. He'll never be able to replace what we have. The words burned into me like acid. My head was pounding, my hands trembling so badly I had to grip the kitchen counter just to stay upright. This wasn't some random stranger taking my wife away. This wasn't a faceless mistake. This was him. The man I trusted with everything. The man who knew me better than anyone. I wanted to scream, to smash the phone against the wall, to march upstairs, rip the shower curtain open, and demand answers. But instead, I slipped the phone back where I'd found it and stumbled out into the garage like I was on autopilot. I sat there in the dark, surrounded by tools and boxes, trying to process the impossible. My wife and my best friend, two people who were supposed to be my anchors in this world, two people who had stood on either side of me for years. And the whole time, they'd been tearing me down behind my back. And here's the worst part, I thought that discovery was rock bottom. I thought I'd already hit the lowest point a man could hit. But I was wrong, because the confrontation that came next would drag everything even lower. I don't even remember driving home from work that night. My mind was a storm, anger, heartbreak, disbelief, all boiling into something that made my chest feel tight and my throat burn. Every mile, I rehearsed what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, but the words twisted and fell apart before I could form them. By the time I walked through the front door, all I knew was this: I couldn't carry the secret another second. Melissa was in the kitchen, pouring a glass of wine like it was any other night. She turned, smiled, and said, "Hey babe, how was your day?" That casual smile, that practiced tone, it nearly broke me in half. "Don't," I said flatly. Her smile faltered. "Don't what?" "Don't stand there pretending. I know." The wine glass trembled in her hand. "Know what?" I stepped closer, my voice low but steady. "About you. About Eric. About everything you've been hiding." For a second, I saw something flash across her face. Shock, guilt, maybe even fear. But just as quickly, she masked it with indignation. "You've lost your mind. Eric is your best friend. Why would you even?" "Because I saw the texts," I cut in. "I saw the photos. I know about the hotel. I know it wasn't some client dinner, Melissa. It was him." Her face drained of color. The glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the tile, red wine bleeding across the floor like a wound. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "Daniel, listen." "No," I snapped. "You listen. I trusted you for years. I defended you when people raised their eyebrows at your excuses. I told myself I was paranoid. And all this time, you were screwing my best friend behind my back." Her composure cracked then. Tears welled in her eyes. "It wasn't supposed to happen. It just did. And then I couldn't stop." I laughed, a harsh, hollow sound I didn't even recognize as my own. "Couldn't stop." "Melissa, this wasn't some slip-up. This was planned, repeated. You two had a whole system worked out, didn't you? My wife and my so-called brother are playing house behind my back." She covered her face with her hands. "I'm sorry." But sorry wasn't enough. Not anymore. My phone buzzed then, like fate itself wanted to twist the knife deeper. I pulled it out, and there it was. A message from Eric. No words, just a photo of him and Melissa together, sent to me by mistake. Or maybe not. I turned the screen toward her. Still want to tell me I'm crazy? Her sobs turned into silence. She stared at the floor, shaking, and that silence told me more than any excuse ever could. I took a long breath, feeling something inside me harden into stone. You've destroyed everything. My trust, my marriage, my friendship. And you're not going to lie your way out of this one. Melissa finally looked up, mascara running down her cheeks. What are you going to do? She whispered. I stared at her, then at the phone still glowing in my hand. What I should have done the moment I suspected the truth, face him. Because if he thinks he's walking away from this without consequences, he has no idea who he's dealing with. And in that moment, I wasn't just a betrayed husband anymore. I was a man preparing for war. The next morning, I drove to Eric's place without telling Melissa. I didn't plan it, didn't think it through. My hands were clenched on the wheel so tight my knuckles ached, and my chest felt like it was on fire. All I knew was this: I couldn't let him walk around like nothing happened. He had taken my trust, my marriage, my friendship, and turned it into a game. And I wanted him to see my face when the game ended. When I pulled into his driveway, his truck was there, parked like it had been every other Saturday morning when we used to hang out. But this time, everything was different. I slammed the door behind me and marched up his porch. He opened the door still half asleep, hair a mess, wearing the same smirk I'd seen 1,000 times. Dan, he said, rubbing his eyes. What's up, man? You look like... I didn't let him finish. I shoved the phone in his face, and the screen lit up with one of his messages to Melissa. Don't play dumb. I know. For a second, his eyes widened. Then he leaned against the doorframe and sighed, almost like he'd been waiting for this moment. So, she told you. She didn't have to, I spat. I saw everything. The texts, the photos, the hotels. Don't stand there and act casual. You've been stabbing me in the back for months. Eric had the audacity to shrug. Look, Dan, I didn't plan for it to happen either. But you've gotta admit, you two weren't happy. She told me things, man. The fights, the distance. I was there for her when you weren't. My fist clenched so tight I thought I'd break my own bones. You were there for her. You were supposed to be there for me. You were my best friend, Eric. My brother. And you picked the one person in the world who would hurt me the most. His smirk faltered, but he didn't look ashamed. If anything, he looked defensive. You act like I stole her. Maybe she wanted something you couldn't give her. That sentence broke something in me. I lunged forward, shoving him hard against the doorframe. Don't you dare put this on me. You could have had any woman, Eric, but you chose mine. You chose her because you knew it would cut deepest. And you were right. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. He raised his hands slowly. Dan, calm down. Violence isn't gonna fix this. Neither will excuses, I growled. The air between us was heavy, dangerous. My whole body was trembling with rage, but I forced myself to step back. If I hit him now, I'd be the one in handcuffs, not him. And that would have been the final insult, him walking free while I paid the price for his betrayal. I lowered my voice, each word sharp as a blade. We're done. Don't call me. Don't come near me. And if I ever see you anywhere near Melissa again, you're gonna wish I'd finished this today. He swallowed hard, trying to play it off, but his eyes betrayed him. He knew I meant every word. I turned and walked back to my car without looking back, my hands still trembling on the wheel as I drove off. It hit me then. In 1 week, I had lost both my wife and my best friend. The two people I trusted most had burned my life to the ground. But the wreckage wasn't finished yet. Because what came after, the cold silence, the unraveling of everything we'd built, was a pain I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. When I drove away from Eric's house, I thought the hardest part was over. I thought confronting both of them, ripping the truth into the open, would give me some kind of peace. But I was wrong. What came after wasn't peace. It was silent. A silence so thick it clung to me in every room of my house, in every empty dinner table chair, in every text notification that no longer came. Melissa tried, at first. She sent long messages filled with excuses, apologies, and promises. It didn't mean anything. It was just a mistake. We can fix this. But the words meant nothing after what I'd seen with my own eyes. You don't just accidentally fall into someone's arms again and again. You don't book hotel rooms by mistake. You don't destroy two lives and then try to patch it together with sorry. When she realized I wasn't biting, the tone changed. Anger replaced guilt. Accusations replaced apologies. You were distant. You pushed me away. If you'd been more attentive, this wouldn't have happened. Those words cut just as deep as the betrayal itself, because they showed me she wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was sorry she'd been caught. And Eric, he vanished. No calls, no texts, no attempts to apologize. He quit showing up to the bar where our friends hung out, stopped answering mutual buddies, and eventually blocked me on everything. That silence said it all. He wasn't man enough to face what he'd done, and in the end, his cowardice almost hurt more than his betrayal. The fallout rippled into everything. Friends we'd shared for years were forced to take sides. Some distanced themselves from both of us, unwilling to pick. Others quietly reached out to me, admitting they'd noticed things between Melissa and Eric but hadn't said anything because they didn't want to interfere. That revelation stung almost as much as the betrayal itself. People had seen the cracks, and I'd been the only fool who didn't. The nights were the worst. I'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling, haunted by the image of them together, by the memory of Melissa's guilty tears and Eric's smug half-apologies. Sleep didn't come easily, and when it did, it was filled with dreams that jolted me awake in cold sweats. But slowly, something shifted. The rage burned hot at first, then cooled into something harder. Resolve. I stopped waiting for apologies that would never heal me, and stopped replaying what-if scenarios. Instead, I filed for divorce, sold the house, packed up her belongings and left them on her mother's porch without a word. People told me I was harsh, that I should have tried counseling, or at least given her a chance to explain. But they didn't understand, there was nothing left to explain. When someone you trust shows you who they really are, the smartest thing you can do is believe them. As for Eric, I erased him from my life, deleted old photos, blocked his number, cut every tie. He was no longer my best man, my best friend, or even a memory worth keeping. He was just a stranger with a face I'd once trusted, a face I'd never forget for all the wrong reasons. It felt like I'd been stripped down to nothing. But sometimes, losing everything you thought you needed is the only way to realize what you actually deserve. The weeks after everything collapsed were some of the hardest of my life. At first, I was running on pure adrenaline, fueled by anger, disbelief, and the constant replay of those messages and images in my head. But once the confrontation was over and the shouting had stopped, there was nothing left but silence. And silence, I realized, can be deafening. The house felt haunted, not by ghosts but by memories. Every corner reminded me of Melissa. The coffee mugs we bought together on a road trip, the blanket she curled up under on rainy Sundays, the dent in the pillow where her head used to rest. Even the kitchen table felt heavy with the weight of our dinners, our laughter, our arguments. It was like living in a museum of a life that no longer existed. I wanted to smash it all, to burn it down just to erase the ache, but deep inside, I knew destruction wouldn't heal me. So instead, I boxed it up, one item at a time. Each piece of her life removed from my home was like carving out a splinter buried in my skin. Painful, but necessary. Work became a blur. I'd go through the motions, answering emails, sitting through meetings, nodding at conversations I wasn't really hearing. People noticed, of course. A few coworkers asked if I was okay, but I brushed them off with the standard, yeah, just tired. They didn't need to know that I wasn't just tired, I was emptied. Every ounce of energy had gone into keeping myself from unraveling in public. Nights were worse. I'd come home, sit in the dark, and feel the silence press down on me until I couldn't breathe. Sometimes I'd turn on the TV just for the noise, leaving reruns playing in the background while I sat staring at nothing. But healing doesn't come all at once, it comes in fragments. One night, I dusted off my old sketchbook and found myself drawing again. Another day, I laced up my sneakers and went for a run, pounding the pavement until my lungs burned and my head cleared. I started driving aimlessly late at night, letting the hum of the road soothe me in ways words couldn't. Slowly, I was piecing myself back together, not as the man I used to be, but as someone new. Family became my anchor. My mom insisted I come over for Sunday dinners, and those meals reminded me what unconditional love looked like. My brother dragged me to the gym, and though I hated it at first, the burn of the weights gave me an outlet for the rage that had nowhere else to go. Even small moments mattered, my niece asking me to help with her homework, my dad calling just to check in. Those little reminders that life could still be simple, still be good, kept me standing. Melissa didn't disappear right away. She reached out in waves, first with apologies, then with excuses, and finally with blame. Long texts saying, "I made a mistake, but I still love you." Then shifting to, "You weren't there for me, Daniel, what did you expect?" And finally, desperation, "We can work this out. Please don't throw us away." Every message was like a hook trying to pull me back, but I refused to bite. I didn't reply, didn't give her the satisfaction of dragging me into her cycle of guilt and manipulation. The day I finally blocked her number, I felt something inside me loosen, like a chain snapping free. Eric? He vanished completely. Moved away, according to mutual friends. stopped showing his face anywhere we used to go. Some people thought it was cowardice, but I saw it differently. It was an admission. By disappearing, he was saying without words, I can't face what I did. And honestly, that was fine by me. Let him carry that weight. It wasn't mine anymore. The fallout extended further than I expected. Friends I thought were ours had to choose sides. Some stayed neutral, disappearing from both of our lives because it was easier than confronting the mess. Others quietly came to me, admitting they'd seen things, the way Melissa and Eric looked at each other, the subtle touches, the too long hugs. They'd stayed silent because they didn't want to interfere. That stung almost as much as the betrayal itself. To realize that people saw me living a lie and chose to say nothing was its own kind of wound. Healing was messy. Some mornings I woke up feeling strong, ready to take on the world, ready to believe I was finally moving on. Other mornings I couldn't get out of bed, crushed by the weight of what I'd lost, not just a wife, not just a friend, but the future I thought I had. Betrayal doesn't just steal your present, it robs you of the life you thought was waiting ahead. But over time, the pain became less sharp. I began to accept that Melissa and Eric weren't chapters one could rewrite, they were closed books. And in their absence, I found something I hadn't felt in years: freedom. Freedom to live without lies. Freedom to rebuild on my own terms. Freedom to discover who I was when I wasn't defined by someone else's deceit. And maybe that's the strange gift betrayal leaves behind. They thought they'd broken me. They thought they'd taken everything. But in reality, all they did was strip me down to the core, and give me the chance to rebuild stronger than before. Looking back now, I realize the betrayal itself wasn't the only thing that nearly destroyed me, it was what it represented. It wasn't just about Melissa lying, or Eric sneaking behind my back. It was about trust, about the belief that the people closest to you are the ones who would never put a knife in your hand and then push it into your own chest. When that belief shattered, it wasn't just my marriage that ended or my friendship that died, it was my entire sense of security. That's the real damage betrayal leaves behind. It makes you question everything, your judgment, your instincts, even your own worth. But here's the thing I didn't understand at first: betrayal says more about them than it does about you. Melissa's choices weren't a reflection of my flaws as a husband. Eric's actions weren't proof that I failed as a friend. Their betrayal was a mirror showing their own weaknesses, their lack of loyalty, their inability to be the people they pretended to be. I carried their sins on my back for too long, as though their failures were mine to bear. But they weren't. They never were. For a while, I let anger define me. I let it seep into every part of my life, poisoning how I looked at people, how I responded to kindness, how I trusted anyone new. But anger is a dangerous fuel. It burns hot and fast, and if you hold on to it too long, it doesn't just consume the people you're angry at, it consumes you. The day I decided to put down that weight, to stop replaying every detail, was the day I finally felt air fill my lungs again. The truth is, betrayal changes you. It leaves scars you'll carry forever. But scars are proof that you survived something meant to break you. And survival itself is power. I learned that pain can be a teacher, if you're willing to listen. It teaches you where your boundaries need to be. It teaches you that not everyone deserves access to your heart. And it teaches you that sometimes the people you love most are the ones most capable of destroying you, and that doesn't mean you should stop loving, it means you should learn to love wisely. If you've ever been through something like this, if someone you trusted tore your world apart, then you know how dark it gets. You know what it's like to question whether you'll ever feel normal again. But here's what I want to tell you: you will. Not overnight, not easily, but you will. One day, you'll look in the mirror and realize the pain isn't controlling you anymore. One day, you'll laugh and mean it. One day, you'll feel hope again. Melissa and Eric may have taken pieces of my past, but they don't get to own my future. That's mine. And if there's one thing betrayal can never steal from you, it's the chance to rise from it stronger, sharper, and more alive than before. When betrayal first hits you, it doesn't feel like a single moment. It feels like 1,000 moments collapsing all at once. It's the smile you thought was real but wasn't. The conversations you thought were private but weren't. The promises you thought were forever but were only temporary. When Melissa and Eric's lies came crashing down, I didn't just lose a wife and a friend. I lost the foundation I had built my life on. And for a long time, I thought that meant I'd lost myself. But here's the strange truth about being broken: sometimes it's the only way to discover who you really are underneath it all. When you strip away the lies, when you burn down the illusions, when you face the reality that people you trusted most didn't deserve that trust, what you're left with is raw, painful, but also real. And for the first time in years, I was forced to confront reality without filters. At first, I resisted it. I wanted to deny it, to rewrite it, to convince myself there was still something something to salvage. But denial is just another cage. The moment I accepted the truth, that they had chosen deceit, that they had chosen betrayal, was the moment I finally felt free. Now, don't get me wrong, freedom didn't feel good at first. Freedom felt empty. It felt lonely. Nights stretched endlessly, and the silence inside my house became heavier than any argument ever was. Sometimes, I'd stare at old photos and ask myself, was it ever real? Did I ever actually know them? And that's the cruelty of betrayal. It doesn't just take away your present. It poisons your past. Every memory becomes suspect. Every moment becomes a question mark, and you're left wondering if anything you believed in was ever the truth. But here's where the shift began. Somewhere along the way, I realized that betrayal wasn't just the end of something, it was also the beginning of something else. It was a forced rebirth. Painful, yes. Brutal, absolutely. But necessary. Because without it, I would have continued living in a lie. And what kind of life is that? You see, when people betray you, they think they're breaking you. They think they're writing the final chapter of your story. But what they don't realize is that betrayal doesn't end a story, it only changes the plot. And sometimes, that plot twist, as devastating as it feels, is the very thing that takes you where you were meant to go all along. I learned that scars aren't shameful. Scars are proof. Proof that you walked through fire and came out alive. Proof that pain didn't destroy you, even when it tried. Proof that you're still standing, even when they wanted you to fall. And if you're watching this and you've ever been betrayed, I want you to understand something. Your scars are not weaknesses. They are your armor. Melissa and Eric, they'll always be a part of my story, yes. But they don't get to write the ending. That belongs to me. And if you've been through something like this, it belongs to you too. Their choices don't define you. Their lies don't control you. Their betrayal doesn't decide your worth. The only thing that defines you is how you rise after the fall. And rising doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, in ways you don't even notice at first. The day you laugh without forcing it. The night you sleep without nightmares. The moment you look in the mirror and see yourself, not the broken version they left behind. Those are the victories. Small, maybe. Quiet, yes. But powerful. Over time, I realized that Melissa's betrayal wasn't proof that I wasn't enough. It was proof that she wasn't enough to value what she had. Eric's betrayal wasn't proof that I failed as a friend. It was proof that he failed as a man. Their choices were about them, their weakness, their selfishness, their inability to honor loyalty. And once I understood that, the shame lifted. Because shame never belonged to me in the first place. That's the final lesson betrayal teaches you, to separate your value from their actions. To stop carrying their sins like they're yours. To stop believing that their disloyalty means you're unworthy of love. Because you are. You always were. They just couldn't see it. So if you've been there, if you've had your trust shattered, your heart broken, your faith in people destroyed, then hear me when I say this, you are not alone. And you will rise again. Not as the same person you were before, but as someone stronger, someone wiser, someone unshakable. And that's why I tell this story. Not to dwell on the pain, not to reopen old wounds, but to show that survival is possible. That rebuilding is possible. That life after betrayal is not just survival, it can be transformation. Because Melissa and Eric, they thought they were writing my ending, but all they really did was hand me a pen. And I'm writing something they'll never be part of. And if you're ready to take that same pen back in your own life, then stay here with me. Because this isn't just a channel for stories, it's a channel for truths, for scars, for the kind of lessons most people are too afraid to speak out loud. So before you leave, do one thing, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Not for me, not even just for this story, but because the next chapter, the next story, the next truth we uncover might be the one that changes the way you see your own scars forever. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. And I promise you, what's coming next, you don't want to miss.